So Madhulika, thank you very much. And as we come to the last session of our virtual emotional intelligence summit, I think we will be having a wonderful session from Madhulika, who is my mentee, and I've seen she's so graceful. She is an MBA graduate from SDM IMD College, Mysore, wherein I have met her over there. And from the day one, I would say that she has been a very, very disciplined student and a very, very passionate student, and I have seen her growing up in a great professional and doing very good, fantastic things. So I welcome her with all gratitude, and today to showcase her talent and also get us into the trance of this whole Natya Shastra and emotional intelligence, which is core for our Indian ancient wisdom. And I would request Indira, if you have ready with her profile to read, or else we can read it in the end also. Is it okay?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, then go ahead, Indira, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. About Madhulika. Madhulika is a trained classical dancer and sales professional. She graduated in computer science engineering in 2012 and then pursued MBA in marketing and human resources. Her training in Bharatnatyam started when she was 4 years of age. Putting her learnings into practice, she has become a recognized dancer in her family, friends, and corporate circle. To further her passion for dancing, she has been practicing Kathak for a couple of years now. She has organized many cultural events involving both international and domestic audience. She has also choreographed and participated in many dance performances representing the institutions throughout her academic life and now in corporate alike. When she is not dancing, she likes to spend time with her two cats, being an avid animal lover. Presently, she works with Ingenico e-payments as enterprise sales manager. That's about Madhulika.
Welcome, welcome, Madhulika. Welcome. I'm proud of you. I'm really thankful to you.
Welcome, Madhulika.
However you tell us, you wanted us the slide to be up, you let us know. We will manage the slides for you, and you can manage the tracks, and we can go on.
Yeah, I would require. Yeah. So thank you again for the introduction.
There is an echo, I think, Madhu, which is coming. I think there is two instruments if you have joined. One, you can put it on mute.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, go ahead. Superb.
I would like to begin with a thought, which I'm sure everybody experiences very often, right? So as an audience, have you ever noticed what invokes a deep emotion inside you whilst attending any sort of performance art? It could be music, it could be dance, it could be drama, or even a movie for that matter. Well, I'm sure you all will agree with me that the degree of the connection which we feel, it mainly depends on the way the story is told and the way it is portrayed by the performer. Good evening, all. I am Madhulika. So I'm going to skip this entire introductory bit, right? So, well, anyways, I started with Bharatanatyam. I pursued this art form for 20 plus years. And for the last couple of years, I've been practicing Kathak. And I strongly believe that dance is a universal language and everybody can understand. So let's try something. So now, since this is an experiential session, I would really appreciate if somebody from the viewers could tell me what I was trying to tell. Just give it an attempt. Anybody would want to take a guess? Okay, I'm sitting a little away from the system, so I would really appreciate if you could.
Yeah. They are telling you, they're curious to know what you have done.
Okay.
They're excited. They're also they're telling, they are asking you to repeat once more the gesture.
Okay.
Because video was stuck. So yeah. Yeah.
Now, anybody like to give it a try?
Happy with 2 days experience?
Oh.
That's what someone told. Learned so much. That's what you are telling, it seems. Someone says that there is some trees there.
Okay. No, I'm sure. I thought that few of them got it right. So
Please, someone is requesting you to come little closer to the camera if it is possible. Yeah.
yeah. So
We can.
let me do it once again. Right. Last 2 days was an absolute pleasure to be in the virtual company of you all experts. So now it wasn't that difficult, right? Have understood this.
Absolutely.
So, but I must say, this last 2 days has been, a very, very knowledgeable sessions, going through all these sessions. It was really, really brilliant, brilliantly organized.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when I got this opportunity to be a part of this conference as one of the speakers to talk about emotional intelligence and dance, to be very honest, it took some time for me to get a grip on this term emotional intelligence. Because not every day we talk about this emotional intelligence, right? We don't use this word, even though this is something which is inherent in all of us, and this is one of the important life skills. But then I realized that this is the very basic skill which my dance gurus have been trying to invoke in me since the beginning of my dance training. And which later on I realized that this is a quintessential part of any performance. Now, in our professional life and our personal life, as we interact with our colleagues or customers or family members or friends, emotional intelligence, to put in short, helps us in reading between the lines. In the sense, it's about understanding what is not being told. Likewise, emotional intelligence for a dancer, this helps us in striking a chord with the audience through the expressions and using gestures. And I personally believe that the building blocks for establishing this command, this doesn't really happen through practice, right? It's about identifying and incorporating those right fragments of your memories or experiences or interactions over the period of time into the performance. Yeah, I think we can change the slide. So for a dancer, you just not have to be connected with the stage and the audience, but you have to be connected with every life moments and also with every object. Say it could be anything, right? Say, for example, you're taking a stroll in the park. So you would come across a beautiful mighty tree which is standing tall. And it could be a tiny creeper which is taking the support of the tree to grow and survive. Or it could be a beautiful flower, right? And it smells so heavenly. Or it could be something as small as a tiny bee, which is coming for the nectar of this beautiful flower. See, all these things could be a big source of inspiration, which could be incorporated in the performance. Right here, while performing, dancers become the emotions what they are trying to portray. So it's something as simple as this, right? If you are not convinced, how will you convince your audience? If you don't believe it, how will you make others believe, right? So for every artist, if you ask them, they say that their art and life are both intrinsically linked, right? Now these are like two sides of the same coin. In the sense, what you are in your real life, you take it and try to put it in the performance, and you take those moments of joy and pleasure and you try to relish it in your real life. And in order to, we were talking about the emotions which the dancers feel and the emotions which the audience feel, right? So in order to get this emotion in the audience, dancers resort to something called as abhinaya, which means leading the audience towards the sentiment of. Now, Natya Shastra talks about 4 different kinds of abhinaya. It talks about angika, vachika, aharya, and satvika, right? So angika is nothing but the use of your bodily parts. It could be your hand gestures or your facial expressions or your leg movements. And vachika is nothing but the use of speech. And aharya relates to your jewelries and the right costumes which are to be used during the performance. And last but not the least, Satvika Abhinaya, which is nothing but the inner feelings or the emotions of the performer himself. During a performance, there are certain emotions which would be displayed, certain strong emotions. right? There would be something like a scene where you show grief, or a scene where you show terror or horror. So all these expressions, you have to feel it firstly. And for this, you require high level of concentration of your mind, without which this is not possible. Now, India being one of the diverse countries, we have thousands and thousands of traditional dance forms and folk dances, right? Out of which we have 8 main recognized classical dance forms. Now, again, I would want to listen it from the viewers if anybody could guess all the 8 recognized classical art forms. Any guesses?
Kathak, Kathakali, Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Kuchipudi.
Okay.
I know these.
Oh, great. Okay, anybody else? I mean, 5 is a good number. Not everybody is aware of all these dance forms.
Mohiniyattam,
Hmm.
that's what they have put in this one.
Okay. All 8. Yeah, I know. Guessing 1 or 2 was pretty simple. Guessing all the 8 is the tricky part.
Yeah.
Did we say Odissi already?
Yes, we have told Odyssey already.
All right. I think.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So can we change the slide, please?
An answer for that 8 forms. Yeah.
Okay. So from south, we have Bharatanatyam, we have Mohiniyattam, we have Kathakali, we have Kuchipudi, and from east, we have Odissi, Satriya, Manipuri, and from northern part, we have Kathak. And all these classical art forms, which we are talking about, even though they are highly stylized and they have their specific forms of their own, it is believed that all these dance forms can communicate with a universal audience at a human level again, when it is done right. And the foundation of all these classical art forms is rooted back to an ancient text called Natya Shastra. I would like to quote a popular phrase from Natya Shastra. We can change the slide, which goes like this: Yato hasta, tato drishti, yato drishti, tato manaha, yato manaha, tato bhava, yato bhava, tato rasaha. Meaning, wherever your hand goes, your eyes follows, and wherever your eyes follows, your mind follows, and wherever your mind follows, there is an expression of the inner feeling, and whenever there is an expression of the inner feeling, the sentiment is evoked in the audience. So this entire process of creation of the emotion within the performer and evoking the same emotion in the audience is wonderfully crystallized in this dictum of Natya Shastra. Now, yeah, we can change the slide. Now, talking about Natya Shastra, so this is an ancient text related to performance art. Now, this covers various aspects of dance, music, and theatre. And this text is attributed to sage Bharata, and it is believed to be written in 200 BCE, more than 3000 years ago, right? And originally, this was written in Sanskrit, and later on, it was translated by multiple local authors into local languages. And this widely covers, multiple aspects related to, again, I told you, music, theater, and dance. It covers, I mean, just to give you a brief idea, it covers something like a relationship between the director and the audience. It talks about different acting techniques. It talks about the stage decoration, about the lights, about the makeups, the costumes. And this text is very, very comprehensive. It's not just it doesn't just cover these topics in a broader way. To give you an example, in dancing, we use something called as mudras, right? Gestures. Now, there is something called as single hand gestures, and there is something called as double hand gestures, which we use, right? Now, every of these gestures, they have got several different meanings when used in different contexts. Say, for example, pataka. This is the first of the single hand gesture. Now, this hand gesture is literally pataka means flag. Okay. So now this hand gesture is also used to describe clouds. It can be used to describe forest, or it can be used to describe a river body, or the expression of keeping quiet, or saying no to somebody, or a horse movement to show the night sky, and it goes on, right? You can imagine a single hand gesture, which has got multiple meanings when used in different contexts. Now, why don't we all try something? So we saw this flower and the bee, right? So now again, this is the combination of two single hand gestures. So let's all try. I would want you all to try it with me. This.
Okay, can you, 1 second, Madhu? We'll stop the slide so that we can see. Yeah, go ahead, Madhu.
Now this is called Alapadma. So can we all try this? Can we all have Alapadma in the left hand side? Okay. And this is called Katakamukha. If you don't get this, you can use this also. It can be represented in two ways. Okay, and you need to add that vibration of the bee, right? The slow, soft vibration of the bee. I cannot see you all at a time, but yeah, I can see that, it's people are doing it really well. See, you all are dancing. Okay. All right. Yeah, we can go back to the slides. So yeah, so like I told you, this text is very, very comprehensive. And this is rightly called as the fifth Veda because it forms the foundation of all the classical art forms, not just dance. Again, it covers various aspects of theater, music, and dance. Now, I would like to talk about one such chapter in Natya Shastra, which talks about emotion. And the chapter is Rasa theory, which is nothing but theory of aesthetics. Goal of any performance art, says Natya Shastra, it's not just the purpose of entertainment. The ultimate goal of any performance is to let the audience or the spectator feel his or her own consciousness, evaluate the values, both spiritual and moral values which are present in him, and then rise to the next higher level of consciousness. So what this theory is trying to say is, any entertainment for that matter, right? It is bound to create emotions in the audience. It is bound to invoke these emotions in the audience. But this is not the primary goal. The primary goal is to create a parallel life in front of the audience and let them experience it as their own. So in the process, what happens is they start getting, they start being more self-aware. They start becoming more self-aware about their surroundings. And they start questioning their moral and spiritual beliefs. Yeah. And yeah, so now we spoke about how important it is for a performer to invoke the emotions in the audience, right? Now, Natya Shastra also rightly says that the role of audience is very, very important in exchange of these emotions. Now, you might ask me how. Because it is the performer who is dressing a performer who is practicing, and performer is the one who is performing in front of the audience, right? But this entire process which I was talking about, creating something within for every performer, to simply put the inner feelings which I was talking about from the performer standpoint, this starts to work only when the performer gets the right vibe from the audience. And that is why I require your complete attention. See, again, I'm not saying this. A text which is as old as 3,000 years ago and which is considered as the holy grail for all the Indian classical art forms says that. So I sincerely hope. Now this theory, this talks about two main terminologies, rasa and bhava. So rasa literally means essence or flavor. In fact, there's an interesting analogy in Natya Shastra which compares this to that of a cooked food. So it says that just like a person who enjoys a well-cooked food with multiple ingredients and multiple spices, and then attains that level of satisfaction and pleasure, same way, even a cultured audience or a spectator, he enjoys the different psychological states when he sees it expressed through the performer's psychological state using different gestures or expressions. Now, to put it in a, further simplified, rasa is nothing but the dominant emotion. So I'll take an example of movie. We all are familiar with a movie, right? So there are different genres in movie. Now let's pick a movie from the horror genre. So when we watch a movie from the horror genre, so does it mean that from the very first second till the last second we'll be witnessing something horror? No, right? The director will not bombard us with terrifying or horror scenes from the very first second till the last second. So there is a romance which is shown, there is some comedy which is shown, there are multiple emotions which are shown. But at the end of the movie, we all are left with certain feeling, certain emotion, right? And that is this dominant emotion. And bhava is nothing but the inner feeling or the emotion of the performer himself. And again, this is dependent on several things. This is dependent on your determinants. There are something called as consequence and also the mental states of the performer himself. Now, Natya Shastra talks about 9 basic emotions. Well, to be very honest, there's a controversy which says only the first 8 were added by Natya Shastra and the ninth one was added later on. But nevertheless, this whole concept of Navarasa is considered to be one of the greatest contribution of Natya Shastra to the Indian fine arts. And it is believed that all the other emotions which we experience are nothing but the subtle combination of these 9 basic ones. For each of these emotions, I would be depicting a very, very tiny scenario as in how it is evoked. Yeah, we can change the slide. Yeah. So, talking about Shringara, this emotion represents love, beauty, and happiness. And this emotion is called crown of all the emotions. And I am going to depict a small scenario wherein I'll be showing how this emotion is evoked in a woman who finds joy in dressing up. And I'm sure most of the women in the group here would be able to resonate with me on this. Yes. So this is one such context where this emotion is displayed, right? So similarly, this can also be shown to show a mother and a child's love, right? Or it could be shown when you're simply walking and you enjoy the beautiful nature, or it could be love between two friends, a love between two siblings, and this emotion can also be used to describe the love between a devotee and an almighty. And it is believed that our entire universe is present to experience this divine love, and this emotion is present in each one of us, and we need to experience this emotion more often to make the world around us a better place. Yeah, can we go back to the slides, please? Yes. So moving on to Hasya Rasa. So even though we know that Shringar is called crown of all the emotions, don't we all agree that laughter is very, very important in our lives? And this emotion, this represents anything from a subtle smile to the loud echoes of the ruckus laughter and anything which fits in between. Now, Lord Krishna's childhood is filled with multitude of such naughty and mischievous stories. So one such depiction where Krishna and his friends play a prank and have fun.
Please put mute. Please mute. Yeah.
Now, the using of these gestures and expression is something which we do it, but the only difference is in dance we use it in a much stylized way, right? And we all have played Damsharads at least once in a lifetime. So can anybody from the viewers, narrate a funny incident using gestures and expressions? Anybody would want to give it a try? It could be anything, right? It could be as simple as, you're drinking something, you spilled it on you. Yeah, it might not be funny for the person who is actually experiencing it, but yeah, let others have fun. So anybody would want to try?
Walking on the road and suddenly slipped and fell down on a very public place,
Gestures.
Yeah, just walk.
Possible.
Just fell down. Imagine.
Would like to give a situation that
Okay, I'm not able to see you.
Yeah, I think you're very far away, I think.
is examination time.
They're not doing the gesture, they're just giving the situation. So it's only the odd.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be.
It is exam time, and the student has gone to watch a movie, and he finds the headmaster or the school head out there.
Definitely.
On the next
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Okay, a person is in abroad, mother died. He is away from abroad, and for so many years he has been there. And then suddenly he received a death news that his mother is expired due to COVID-19. What would be his expression? How can he show his expression?
Yeah, we'll hold on that one, Raghuram sir, because she's now trying to do the Hasya Rasa.
Sure.
That is more very deep.
Yes, relevant.
Let her do the Hasya Rasa.
Okay.
If that person is in this one international, and then suddenly he doesn't know how to eat with a fork and a knife, and something is there in front of him to eat only with fork and knife, then what will happen? Convert that situation there.
Yes. Excellent.
Go ahead, Madhu.
Please.
One Hasya is a wife, my wife staring at me.
Okay.
Okay. I hope your wife is not listening to this session. Hasya will then turn into Raudra.
No, she only said.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Oh, all right. Now, can we get the slides back? Yeah. Moving on. The next rasa, I think you can start. Yeah. The next rasa which I'll be talking about is Veera. And this rasa represents heroism. This is everything which is associated with bravery, courage, self-assurance, determination, and valor. So there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So here's a depiction of this emotion through a brave soldier who's getting ready for her duty. So, in order to be a hero, it's not necessary that we always have a weapon. There is a warrior who is already present inside us. So, according to the situation, it's very important that we identify and awaken this warrior and retain this, right? So, can we go back to the slide? Yeah. The next one. Yeah. Moving on to the Karuna Rasa. So I think somebody from the viewers were asking about the grief, right? The expression of grief. So this Karuna Rasa, it talks about sadness and empathy. So it can be used to represent two of the emotions. One is grief and compassion. So grief is, as rightly somebody pointed out, so grief is the one which you feel when you lose somebody who is close or your near or dear ones. And compassion is nothing but the empathy. And this can be felt, true compassion, they say, it could be felt for anything, right? It could be felt for your plants or animals or any fellow human beings, even your enemies. And for all these reasons, this emotion is called superior of its kind. So I'm going to show this emotion through a soldier's wife upon hearing her husband's martyrdom. So now this emotion, so there's a reason why it's called superior of its kind, right? Now this emotion acts as a bridge which connects us all, where we could reflect others' sadness and also empathize and understand each other. Yeah, can we go back to the slide, please? Yeah. So I'll be talking about two emotions now, which will be portrayed in one scene: Bibhatsya and Raudra. Bibhatsya means disgust. That feeling which we get when we experience something which is nauseating. It could be something unpleasant which we see, or we tend to scrunch our nose, right, when we smell something unpleasant. Or it could be the taste of a stale food. This is that feeling. And Raudra, as you all might be aware, this is nothing but fury or anger. And this is a very violent emotion. And this is not something which is experienced when a mother is angry at a child when the child does something wrong, right? Or this is not the emotion which a wife feels on a husband when her husband forgets their anniversary. I see that my husband is in total disagreement here with me. But anyways, yeah, jokes apart. So this emotion is considered to be violent of all the emotions put together. So I am going to depict a scene where a woman is being harassed by a stranger in the public place. So now in this scene, so it's always said that this emotion, which is Raudra, this is mostly violent in nature. And if this emotion is not respected, then yeah, God save the person who is facing this emotion. See, in this situation, this is an extreme situation, right, where the woman was being harassed in the public place. So there, yeah, still this violent action is still somewhere justified here. But in our daily lives, when we come across different situations and when we actually get angry, so we have to think through: is it really necessary to take any actions? Should we act upon it, or should we just let this emotion pass through us? Right? So we should be the master of our emotions, and we should not let these emotions control us. I think we can go back to the slide. Yeah, I think we can change the slide. Okay. Talking about the next emotion, which is Bhayanaka. And this emotion implies fear. So this is the one which we feel when we come across something which is more powerful than us. The feeling of helplessness, right? And this could be any of your phobias also. So I'm going to depict one such phobia which causes this emotion. So this is a very, very, tiny scenario when the fear takes over you, right? There could be multiple reasons why we fear. Some of you might have a stage fright when talking in front of the audience. Even this is a fear, right? So it's very important that we overcome this fear, because the moment we fear, we try to shut away from the real world which is around us. So it's very important that we overcome this fear and move on with our lives. Yeah, you can go back to the slide. Yeah. So moving on to the next emotion, which is Adbhuta. This emotion represents the feeling of bewilderment, amazement, and curiosity. So it is said that when you're curious, you start to learn more things, right? And this is nothing but the feeling of awe which we all feel when we come across something which is more powerful, more divine, or a beauty, or any power which is not seen or heard before. Imagine a child's excitement when he visits the planetarium for the first time. I'm going to show you one such depiction which showcases a child's emotion. So don't you all agree that in this journey of growing up, somewhere this emotion becomes lesser and lesser in us? So I'm sure most of us, would be honing this emotion, and you would be learning a lot more in your life. But at least, some of them. So yeah, it might be due to several reasons, right? It would be due to lack of time, or different priorities. So somewhere we try to suppress this emotion as we grow up. But it's very important that we retain to these emotions, and then so that we can invoke this process of learning throughout our lives. So anybody would want to share an experience where you are excited recently? You would have been excited about something or the other, right? Anybody from the viewers who would like to share this experience with us?
I was excited about this summit.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. I'm still excited, actually.
Okay, I would like to say that usually all the fireworks excite me, and especially when they're done in a real big way. So I would like you to express that, please.
Which one? I didn't get you. Sorry.
Fireworks.
Okay. Okay, I will try my best to express.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I hope you were able to understand.
Lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So now all these emotions which we saw about, right? They're all, it uses gestures or expressions. So we all use this in our day-to-day lives. Don't you agree? So even for saying something like, something simple as yes or a no, or to call somebody, or to say somebody go out. So we all are using these gestures and emotions, right? So somehow our mind, knowingly or unknowingly, is aware of this language. So we are all dancing, right? So I won't be wrong in saying that all the human beings are born to dance. Only difference is that, in dancing, we use it in a much more stylized way than what you actually do it in your real life. And all these emotions, they form an important essence of human communication and understanding. And we spoke about this emotions and feelings and the mental health, right? And all these things. So I understand, this topic would be coming to limelight recently. But this was recognized by early Indian authors, somebody like Bharata, who has written Natya Shastra, and there are other authors like Nandikeshwara, Abhinaya Gupta. So all these authors have recognized the importance of this mental and emotional health, which is very, very important, right? So I thought that I would keep the last rasa, which is Shanta rasa, to the end, considering the situation which we are in today. Yeah. We can get back the slide. So talking about Shanta Rasa, this rasa represents peace and tranquility. This rasa is nothing but the sweet symphony which is produced when your mind, soul, and body are on par with each other. And this reflects the deep calmness and the relaxation which we all crave for, right? So, here. I think you need to. I think you need to turn on the screen then. So may there be well-being in everything. May there be peace in everything. May there be happiness in everything. And may there be auspiciousness in everything. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I would like to end this session, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Madhulika. Thank you so much. And I think you have made it. You have just gracefully made this show to end. I just can't believe that we have done this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Can we have her certificate? Madhulika, I think this is a very small gesture from us because you have been awesome. And thank you. This is a small token of our appreciation to you from Emotional Ethics & Co. and MEQ Academy for sharing your insights and taking us through this Indian ancient wisdom of Natya Shastra and connecting so very well with our emotions. You invoked every emotion with us. Let there be peace, let there be harmony, let there be happiness, let there be every rasa in all of us, and let us invoke it and have a great emotional health and mental health. Thank you so much. We have also planted a tree on Madhulika Achar's name in Karnataka. Yes, of course, in Karnataka only. We have planted. Thank you for GAPS Digital Solutions for sponsoring this tree. And I will send you across and you can track this tree. And thank you once again for this awesome experience. And virtually giving us this experience, I don't feel, it would have been so possible, but you have done an amazing job.
Really